Hey everyone, it's Sam Mackay from Enterprise DNA. Today I want to go over new customer sales. How do you calculate it and how do you build it, build the logic into your model? Now what we're looking at here, this is an entire reporting solution that I went through with all the Enterprise DNA members who attended a scenario method workshop based on churn analytics. And so within that, we analyzed, so you see down this chart here, new customer sales. So to actually get to new customer sales, you need to break out who your new customers are, or at least classify what you consider to be a new customer. So we'll talk about that just very briefly. But then we wanted to compare new customer sales to our total sales, and then from that you could derive, new percentage new customers of total new customer sales of total sales, how many sales you make from, say, steady customers who bought a few but aren't considered new. So there's so many great things that you can analyze from this technique, or utilizing this technique. What I wanted to do is, obviously this was a really detailed session. I ran for well over an hour, had many attendees, very interactive, but I want to break it out in this tutorial because I think it's very interesting, and I think that you'll benefit from the logic. If you do want to be able to download the resource, view the entire workshop, see how the model works in behind the scenes and how we overlay this logic incrementally, then I'll put a link below in the description. You can have a look at where that is. If you do want to download and watch, etc., though, you will need to think about upgrading to Enterprise DNA membership. Okay, so new customer sales. Now, let's just jump to this page here because I've got it all set up. Now, first of all, we need to understand new customers, okay? Now, I will likely create another video which that goes through new customers in depth, right? But I do want to show how we utilize that technique. So I'll briefly go over it to find new customer sales, okay? Now, let's jump to new customers. Now, the key thing is understanding the logic. What is a new customer? And this can vary. I feel this will vary across any business. And essentially, what I incorporated into this demo is I wanted to evaluate a customer set. So in any particular month, I wanted to look at who are those customers, but within those customers, I wanted to break out which customers have not purchased off us in a prior time window up until that point. Okay. Now, to do that, I worked out who are all my customers in a particular month, and then I worked out, well, who are all my customers in a 90-day window prior to that. Now, we could change the window, and that's what this water parameter does here. I could change it to 30, or I could change it to 365, which would make it an entire year, and that would actually change the results quite a bit. But in this case, we're going to just leave it at 90 and say if a customer hasn't purchased off us, have purchased off us in a particular month, but not in the 3 months prior, the 90 days prior, then they are considered new, okay? Now, this is what this formula does, and so this calculates the window, the customers within the 90-day prior window. This part of this variable calculates the customers in the current context, and then what accept does is it returns another table, but it returns a table of the customers that are in this month, or calculated within any particular month, that are not in this prior window that we've created. So it's purely doing exactly the logic I just described, right? And so, but it's returning a table of all of those customers, and then we go and count up those customers using count rows, and then that's how we get these results down in this particular column here. Okay, and even with this calculation, we can do quite a bit. Now, how do we calculate new customer sales? Okay, now the great thing is, if you can understand this logic, then you have absolutely nothing to worry about with this logic. Okay, and that's the great thing, because what we can do when using calculate is we can utilize, or we can change the context of our total sales amount by exactly this particular table function here. Accept is a table function, but it can also be used as a filter within calculate. So it can change the context within calculate. Okay, so really, really, really powerful stuff, right? So let's go and have a look at this particular this particular formula. Now, this part of the formula, new customer sales, is exactly the same. So that's why I said, if you can understand new customers, then you don't have anything to worry about with new customer sales, I don't feel. But let's have a look at what we do after the return. It looks pretty simple, right? Because all we are doing is, instead of count rows here, like counting up the customers we consider new, we are using this formula now to change the context of our simple total sales formula. And we can do that inside of Calculate. Okay, so if you look at the table down below here, we're actually looking at total sales, and this is what we are breaking out as new customer sales, because the context is being changed for only that subset of customers which we are considering new based on this logic that we have built up in these variables. So say, for instance, we actually wanted to change that time window where we considered a customer as new. Say, for instance, if a customer has not purchased off us for, say, 6 months, or we'll go 180 days, right? If a customer has not purchased off us in 180 days prior, but then did purchase off us, we consider that customer to be new. That was too long within purchases, right? We would have maybe had to pay for additional marketing. So the acquisition cost of that customer has gone up. They haven't just been a steady customer who just constantly comes back and buys off us and buys off us and buys off us. We've had to go and get them back. So that's why we consider them new, right? You'll see here that changed the new customers, but also quite considerably changed the new customer sales, because these sales here are basically just the sales of this group of customers, these 19 customers. And as you work down the list, this 36K is just the makeup of the customer sales from these 24 customers, right? So really great and interesting logic, right? I don't feel I need to explain anymore. Hopefully you can understand how you can move, or it's really just branching out into more great insights. Now, how do you think you calculate steady customer sales here? Well, it's actually not that difficult, because if you think about it, a steady customer is someone who is the reverse of a new customer, right? And so all we have to do is, we've got total sales, we've got new customer sales. All you'd need to do is create a branch out into a new measure and go total sales minus new customer sales, and then you're there. Now, well, what about if we wanted to calculate, new customer sales percentage? Well, here we go. I've already calculated here. And so all I need to do is bring that into the table. And you'll see that this now actually gives us a percent. And you'll see that this will actually change. I want to show you that this actually changes. This will actually change based on the time window that we actually generate. So you see here that I've increased the time window, I've decreased the time window. So every 90 days, and the new customer sales has come up. Well, say for instance, we even reduced this even more. We went 30 days. So if a customer has not purchased off us in the prior month, but then they did purchase off us, so that's basically 30 days, you'll see that a lot of our customers are considered new, because not many are purchasing within those sort of time frames. So really interesting stuff, right? Really interesting stuff. Okay, so I'm going to round things off there. I think that was a good breakout session from this one, which was in far more detail. We're going to have lost customers, new customers, in more detail, how to set it up in a visualization, how to build the model in the background, etc. So if you do want to have a look at where that's located within Enterprise DNA Online, I'll put it in the description below. But in any case, hopefully you got a lot out of this one. Lots to learn. The makeup of these functions, and all these insights, new customer sales, new customers, etc. It's just so interesting how you can incorporate a lot of these different table functions and mash them all together, and get really interesting insights like this in a really intuitive way. Okay, all the best. Hope you like the content. You're certainly subscribed to Enterprise DNA TV. Have so much content about Power BI coming out. Really want you to get your hands on that. It's going to be lots more interesting things, and advanced things just like this. So certainly want to get that out to you. All the best. Look forward to talking to you soon.